Boston College and AD Blake James neared their decision as finalists are being named. Bill O'Brien is still the favorite. But what about former Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst, Jeff Monken of Army, and UCLA head coach Chip Kelly? We're going to discuss them.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. We are now a week into the search for Boston College's head coach, as Jeff Hafley resigned just a week ago today. We know one of the favorites. It's Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is the guy that I think is going to win it. We'll talk about that in a moment. But on Wednesday, we got further clarification on where this search is heading. Pete Thamel tweeted out that they are going to continue to have a second round of interviews where they're going to bring a select number of candidates onto campus and have a decision by the end of this week. He wasn't able to clarify who was there. Now, there were further tweets out there by Bruce Feldman, who clarified that Bill O'Brien was going to be one, didn't say who the other one was going to be. And then every person, folks, that I've talked to, and I have industry people that I can talk to, I have people connected to this, no one knows who the other candidate or candidates are going to be that join Bill O'Brien. On today's show, I'm going to look at each one, tell you what they could bring, why I think they could be the head coach, and why I think they may not. We'll get into each one by one, so you got to get a better feel of where this coaching search could be. Now, our first candidate that we're going to look at is Paul Chryst. Paul Chryst is the Texas special assistant to head coach Steve Sarkisian right now, but he's best known for his time with Wisconsin Badgers. He won 3 Big Ten West titles. He was coach of the year in the Big Ten a couple times. He had a lot of success at that program. Before that, he had time at Pitt, and he Oregon State and things like that. Why he could be the guy that comes down to Boston College for a second round of interviews? Well, Blake James has said that he wants a coach that has experience. Clearly, Paul Chryst has a lot of experience, and he has experience winning, which I'm sure is something that Blake James is going to want. If you look at what his resume, it's impressive. I know his time in Madison did not end off well, but people I've talked to some Wisconsin reporters, they thought he got kind of a rough shake near the end. Now, some of his recruits didn't end up panning out, but he also had a lot of turnover on his staff. Remember, Jim Leonard took off, and he had to, replace a few other people on his staff. And it just ended up kind of fizzling. Why it might not be Paul Chryst? Well, again, he's a bit of a retread. This is a coach that, he's just a special assistant right now. He is kind of an old school head coach. I'm not sure if that's what Blake James wants or even if he cares what that looks like. He plays an old smash mouth style of football, which could be attractive to Boston College, but maybe they don't want that. He is more of he's a winner, but is he enough to get fans excited? I don't think so. I don't think Paul Chryst, when you announce this, would get a huge reaction. People will be like, oh, that's okay. Cool. So why does that matter? Because, fans don't technically matter. In college football, it does. Because fans are the ones that open their wallets to pay donors, to donate, to pay for NIL. You need someone who lights a fire to get that going. Not sure Paul Chryst does that. So that would be my reason against it. Now, I'm going to set my odds for this for today's show. What's the odds he gets a second interview? I'm going to say high. I think he'll be a guy that comes back to Boston College to get an interview. So I'm going to put him at high. Next, Al Washington, a Notre Dame defensive line coach. Now, this is a confusing candidate for one reason. Everything I've heard, and from reliable sources, they have told me that BC's one of Blake James's must-have for a coach is that the coach has to have had experience as a head coach. Think about that with Al Washington. Al Washington hasn't even been a coordinator yet. He's a defensive line coach. So he's clearly well regarded. He's had a ton of success at a lot of programs. I mean, he coached at Ohio State. He coached at Cincinnati. He coached at Notre Dame. He coached at Michigan. He's got a lot of Midwest success. And he's a Boston College alumni. I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but Eric McLean had on Will Blackman today. And I would guarantee if you go and listen to what he says, the coach he's going to recommend is Al Washington. I saw John Johnson, who a former safety for BC, on Twitter today saying that the coach that he would love to see is Al Washington. So he'd have a lot of success there. NIL, I feel like he could have some experience there that would bring it, and he brings some excitement towards donors. I think that would be the case. The big negative for Big Al is that he's Halfley. I mean, Jeff Halfley had more experience than he did, and we saw what happened with Jeff Halfley. Blake James has to have seen that. I mean, I know he's a very popular player in alumni, but Al doesn't have it yet. Now, will he be brought back for an interview? I don't think so. Everything I've heard is that BC's not going to bring that. What I would love, the dream for Al Washington, I'm going to say this now. The dream that I would love to see is that when they hire Bill O'Brien, I'm spoiling for later, they bring Al Washington as defensive coordinator. He's stuck behind Al Golden as, Al Golden's a defensive coordinator. You got Marcus Freeman. He's a defensive mind. Al Washington can't progress at Notre Dame. What a great chance to come back home to the school that he started at with a fresh start and a fresh staff to lead the recruiting and bring BC back. And then if Bill O'Brien in a couple of years wants to hang it up, maybe he's old or he just wants to go to the NFL, get Al as a coach in waiting. Make him associate head coach. I think that'd be a great way for him to learn. Just like what you did as Abdul Rahim. I think Al Washington could play that role perfectly. So I want him as part of the staff. I don't want him as a head coach. So I hope BC does that. Next, Jason Candle. Now, this is tough because the first two I've heard mostly uniform things about. Like, I think Paul Chryst is coming. I don't think Al Washington is coming. Jason Candle, I talked to a national reporter who said that he doesn't expect Jason Candle to come on campus. He's a youngerish coach. He's not old. He's had a ton of success at Toledo, so there you get that check mark again. But he hasn't coached anywhere but Toledo. He hasn't had any of the issues with academics that Boston College is going to bring. I think he's a coach that could come. I put him as a medium potential. In terms of what I would love for coaches, we'll go over my order of like what coaches I would love to see most. He's near the top because I think he's got a good upside, and I've talked to a couple other schools that are like reporters that are like, man, I want him at our school. So there's a reason why he's successful. There's a reason why he's well thought of. Downside, as I said, he hasn't been to Massachusetts. I'm not sure how he would do at this level. So Jason Candle is another one to keep an eye on. Now, in a moment, I am going to get into some other names, including a mystery name that keeps popping up, and I have to address it and talk about it. You're going to want to hear my thoughts on why this guy's potential isn't all that out of the left field as some might think. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some bets. I'm going to get myself some buffalo wings. I like them spicy, but not too spicy. I'm getting older. As I get older, I can't have spicy foods. But what I can do is make some great bets on FanDuel. FanDuel has so many ways to end your season with a win, or one or two or three. If you like parlays, those are even more fun, especially at the Super Bowl. You can bet which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, over under, all the lines for the game, and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get a $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit fanduel.com/locked on to sign up. That's fanduel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports partner of the NFL. This is Locked On BC. I'm your host, AJ Black. Eagle Insider here. And we have had a overwhelming response to our coaching search deal over at Eagle Insider. Every day I update the big board with all the latest news. I am on the board constantly with things I've heard. If you're a VIP and you're listening, you can chime in the comment section about why you like it. But we've had so many new signups, and I hope you join us too, because I can't give everything away on here, but on the boards, I've been giving away a lot more. So check it out. Go to Eagle Insider and become part of our insider community. Now, one name that has popped up by me, and I saw someone else take it and then not give me credit for it, is Air Force head coach Troy Calhoun. This is one of two service academy coaches that have been linked to the BC job. Now, it's interesting because most other coaches that have been associated with this search, you've heard a lot of. You hear their names popping up. National people bring them up. Calhoun has only come up when I talked to a national reporter, but on the back end about whether they would continue with it, I haven't heard his name once in the limited conversations that I've had. I don't think he's going to be continued. I would put Troy Calhoun near the bottom of my list with Al Washington in terms of getting I'd probably put him below Al Washington because I think Al has a better chance as an alumni to get a second interview. But I don't think Troy Calhoun will get it. I don't think he's going to. I don't know what it is about him. I don't know if it's just not the right fit. He's a West Coast guy, or his interview didn't go well. But in terms of whether he gets to Boston College for that second interview, I'm going to put that at very low. I think the road ends for Troy Calhoun soon. Now, Jeff Monken is next. He's the head coach of Army. He's interesting because Father Leahy, who's probably going to be at these second interviews, he was at Michie Stadium this year for BC and Army. So we got a chance to probably meet him. So that could be a reason why he could be on campus. My industry insider that I talked to loves Jeff Monken, thinks that he's going to be a terrific coach no matter where he goes. He's had success at Army. He's coached for a program that has had limitations. But will he be able to overcome, will he be able to recruit at the ACC level or do NIL or any of that? I'm not sure. I put his potential to show up to BC for a second interview at medium to high. I think if I'm looking right now, Bill O'Brien will be one. I would have Monken pretty close to near, probably right around him, and Paul Chryst are like 2A, 2B for me. I think those are the other two that I'm looking at. So Jeff Monken definitely fits a lot of what BC's looking for. And I think he's just waiting for the right Power 5 program. He's a Northeast guy. Obviously, he coaches in New York. Would he fit the bill? Would he get the excitement going? Yeah. Would he be able to coach? But the same thing with Calhoun, getting away from the triple option. I think that's honestly, if you hired either of these, all fans are going to say is, are they going to coach the triple option? Are they going to coach the triple option? I don't think either of them will, but I also kind of worry that their offense isn't going to work because we haven't seen it, in the last 10 years. Jeff Monken, he did try to get away from the triple option this year, but I believe by the end of the year, he was right back to the triple option again. So I don't know. He's a medium potential for that one. And then finally, the mystery man. And I'm putting this out here right now because I think BC's more involved with this coach, excuse me, than anyone is talking about. And that is Chip Kelly. I have heard his name pop up from some pretty reasonable sources a couple times now. And there, his name when I telling you, I got the list of who was coming on campus. Went to Atlanta for the first round of interviews from a very, very reliable source, like rock solid. And he was not on that list. But would it make sense to keep his name off of like anything that was leaked because he's a sitting head coach? He's the only one right now that's a Power 5 sitting head coach. Chip Kelly has made it very clear he wants to get the heck out of UCLA. I don't know what's going on with him and Martin Jarman, but he wants out. His name I keep hearing it, and it's not like, random folks are telling me. It's people that are connected that said, hey, AJ, Chip Kelly is involved in this. Now, the biggest issue with him is he wants to get to the NFL, first of all, it seems. It feels like he wants to do the Hafley route. So that part I have a hard time getting past. But maybe he's just in a toxic situation at UCLA and he just wants to go to a chill location like BC where it's not so high strung. That could be it. But the big thing that keeps popping up is his buyout. Like, could BC afford it? Now, I don't know how acrimonious his relationship is with Martin Jarman in UCLA. It seems like it's pretty bad. I have to wonder if the two of them would come to an agreement to get him out of his contract. And that wouldn't be for free, but maybe they could knock the number down a little bit to get him to just for UCLA to get a fresh start. If like they don't think he's going to be the right fit, because clearly he's trying to get out of there, and they might want to be like, okay, I want to get a fresh start here. Let's get our guy in before other candidates get gobbled up. I'm not saying that they're going to get him cheap, but I also have to imagine the Green Bay, and I've heard buzz of it. The Green Bay is paying, they're going to pay they have to pay BC for Jeff Hafley. So maybe BC got some money that they can push forward to get Chip Kelly. It's not the strangest solution I have thought of or I've heard of. He wants out of there. Maybe that money can help make him affordable. It gets him closer to where he's from. It gets him, again, a fresh start. Could happen. I would love to see what he could do with Thomas Castellanos and some of these quarterbacks that BC are bringing in, because I feel like he'd have a field day with it. And he would be like, in terms of energizing fans, to me, Chip Kelly and Bill O'Brien are 1A, 1B, because these would be two monster hires for BC. Like if somehow Boston College can figure out a way to pry Chip Kelly away from UCLA and have him coach here. This is a guy that played in the national championship, coached at the NFL level. He's done everything. I'm not sure where I would put him, and I'm going to continue to talk to people to see if I can get more details. I've had folks telling me that, watch out, maybe he's on his way. I can also tell you he left UCLA today at like 1:00. Now that could be, he's been linked to OC jobs. I know that. But could he be, if he left at 1:00, was he on his way to Boston? Was he getting on a flight to BC? I don't know. So there's a lot of weird things going on here. I'm not ready to say he's like a top candidate, but I would not be surprised if somehow they've slid him in. So that's my thoughts on Chip Kelly. Now, in our final segment, I'm going to go over my order of preferences for Boston College's head coach. I'll give you who I like the most, who I have the biggest worries about, and I'll give you my final thoughts all on that. Now, Game Time is the place to go. If you are going to a game, if you're going to a show, a concert, whatever you're doing, you need to use Game Time because it's fast and it's easy. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, GameWork takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. What I love about Game Time is that you have your seat finder, your seat viewer. You can see what you're buying. It's so easy. As I've said, I've gone to BC football games. I knew exactly where I was going to sit because I wanted specific seats in a certain area. Got them. I could see what I was going to be able to view on the field. Perfect. And their prices are what you get. Like it's an all-in price. You don't get hidden fees, which is great because so many other ticket resellers have that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time tickets users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use code VAGAS100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Don't download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. Again, come over to Eagle Insider. I think you'll enjoy the work that we've put together on this coaching search. It's been a lot, but we've been able to do it. And now I'm going to give you my thoughts on who I want Boston College to hire. And I'll give you my order of my coaching candidates. Coming in last, in terms of candidates that have been named, is Al Washington. Unfortunately for Big Al, I know he's got donors and fans that like him. He doesn't have experience. I don't really want him here. I don't think he's the right fit right now. I'd love to see him in like 10 years, BBC's head coach, but not now. So unfortunately, Big Al, he's at the back end right now for me. Next, I will put Paul Chryst. Paul Chryst is just a coach that to me seems a bit of a retread. I know he's won, and that's great. But I saw him be kind of mediocre with Pitt. I saw him flame out at the end at Wisconsin. Not a lot of juice there. So he goes behind him. Next, Troy Calhoun, a coach that has a ton of success. And that's amazing. I appreciate everything he's done. But he's from Air Force and runs a triple option offense that he'd have to adjust. I'm going to put him back there. So he goes near the back for me. Then I'm going to put Jason Candle. Jason Candle, I feel like could be very successful. And so I don't want to, I'm not saying he's a bad hire. He's a good younger coach that I feel like could find some success. But he'd have to replicate it from Toledo, where they've been very successful for a long time, to BC. So there's a little bit of worries there. Next for me, coming at number 3, is Jeff Monken. I feel like he's a very exciting coach that could really lift up a program, and he would be my 3rd. Number 2 for me, I'm going to say Bill O'Brien. I know. No, actually, I'm going to go with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, because I love him, and I feel like he would be a massive jolt to BC, like a seismic change. However, I don't think Chip Kelly would be here very long. And I think he would be looking for his first way out. I find him like number 2 and 1 for me. I would be totally happy with either of these guys because I feel like both of them would give BC a humongous jolt and get butts and seats. They would be able to get recruiting going, get transfers here. They would do everything you needed them to do. So Chip Kelly for me is number 2. And number 1 is Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien has local roots, has family in the area. He's got a son that's sick and needs care in the area. I feel like Bill O'Brien not only would do everything that Chip Kelly did in terms of bringing success here and a big, rich history and give a jolt, but I feel like he'd stay a little bit longer. And that to me is kind of important. I don't care about it being a stepping stool here at BC, but I feel like he, getting like 5 years out of him would be great. And that's all you need. So Bill O'Brien is my favorite. And honestly, at the end of the day, I talked about all these other potential candidates that are coming in. I'm going to tell you my thoughts right now is that, yes, they're doing finalist picks. I think a lot of this is a smokescreen. I think that BC knows that I really do believe Blake James is going to try to hire Bill O'Brien. And I feel like he's known this for about a week now, that Bill O'Brien's his guy. But BC has a way of doing things. So he had to go through it. And so if you hear about Al Washington getting an interview, it's because they probably already know who's getting it. And it's going to be Bill O'Brien. So I expect in the next 24 to 48 hours that Bill O'Brien is going to be named the head coach of Boston College, and that we can start looking at all the coaches that are going to come with them. And I think BC fans are going to be ecstatic with that choice, and for good reasons, because I feel like he will be the best coach Boston College had, biggest name Boston College has ever brought in at head coach, and will bring a big seismic change in the way Boston College is viewed. This is AJ Black. I will be back again tomorrow. If news of this hire breaks before that, Mitch and I will go as quickly as we can to our computers and record. Don't you worry. Thank you all for following at AJ Black 247 on Twitter, over at Eagle Insider. Make sure you bookmark that page. And if you're listening live on YouTube, please like this, hit the little thumbs up arrow, and subscribe to our channel. And if you're on a podcast, we appreciate that too if you give us a 5-star review. And hit the subscribe button, and tell every one of your friends. If like your friends are like, hey, what's going on with the coaching search? Tell them about Locked On BC, because we're doing this. And we're your home for Boston College news, your team every day.